Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
How you doing, Dad?
I'm very well now, Steve. Thank you. Much better.
You all better?
All better now. Yeah.
Good.
This week has been really good. You know, we've found that out and about, and I haven't had any reoccurrence of the little hiccups that I've had over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So yes, pleased as punch. How are you? This is your first free day, isn't it, from all the commitments that you've had with your panto
Mm,
and so on?
absolutely. Yeah. We every weekend in January we've been doing a pantomime, and I mean I've been looking after baby, but well, not baby anymore, toddler. But Mims has been heavily involved in this pantomime that we wrote together and has been put on in January, and it's been a really big success for them. They've seen sellout performances. I think other than maybe 3 or 4 tickets on the first weekend, the entire run was sold out. So
Can't be
they've been
bad,
really
can it?
pleased, as you can imagine, with how it's gone down.
Absolutely. Well, we came to see you last Saturday, and it was a very lovely day we had there, and it was very good. I, Eileen, my wife, couldn't stop talking about it all the way home.
Oh,
Better than last year, she said. I think last year was good, so I think but she was full of it. So, and if everybody thought that, then you've got had a major success on your fans, which is great.
yeah, the feedback has been really lovely, and it seems like we hit on a lot of very special things. We had a really nice combination. The formula was just right. So yeah, no, we're thrilled. We're thrilled, but equally, it's nice for it to be over. It's been a big commitment, and nice to have a day at the weekend where we're both not completely committed to something. So which is good because we've only got just over a month before the next baby arrives. So
That's
there's
right.
our next commitment. So we've got a little break until it's all um, yeah, all kicks off with that. So yeah, doing well. Um, but this week we're going to talk about the finished elephant picture
hmm
that you've completed, and let me just show everyone where we were at, if I can find it. Goodness me, I think this is where we were at last week. Let's just pull this up for everyone to see. I think this is where we showed your last progress.
Oh
Um,
yes,
so
that's right.
you'd done majority of the elephant, but you've now finished it. So we're actually going to show quite a big jump in terms of the foreground, middle ground, background finished, and the rest of the elephant. So let's show the finish. Now there's two finished pictures that we're going to show because we're going to talk about this, and this could almost be a spot the difference, I
That's
think.
right. Yes, that's the idea.
Let's see if we can show this is the first one. So this is the sort of thought it was finished picture. Now, before we talk about the spots, the difference. Well, no, we'll talk about the finished picture when we get to the picture. Did you know that you'd missed the bits that you'd missed off when you got to this point?
No, not at all. I'd finished it. I'd effectively put it to bed, and of course, as you know, I always look back at the footage. So I was going through that, happily going through that, and right at the very end, I thought, hang on a minute, where's his tail? There's no tail. Now, on the original picture, there was a kind of tail. It wasn't very well defined, and I kind of dismissed it because it didn't look good. Yeah,
I
there
just
we
thought I'd
are.
show that just as an example because I was thinking, oh, was there a tail on the original? You can't
Uh,
see it, not really clearly.
no, it was very iffy. So we didn't have a tail. And I thought, oh no, we've got to have a tail. So you'll see the new picture in a minute with the tail. Now the other thing was, if you switch back to that other picture we
Sure.
had without the tail,
Let's have a look.
Um, I can also talk to you about something else I saw. Now, you see, there's a bit. It's where the tail is, just below that area. You've got some rocks there, and I thought, I don't know, that's not too bad, but we really do need some kind of pathway through. Otherwise you'd have to climb over the rocks. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure he's capable of doing that, but I thought it still looked a bit unfinished. So at the same time of the tail, I thought, no, I think I can improve that slightly. Not a lot of difference, but there is a difference. And when we see the new picture, you'll see that it's an improvement. There you
There you
go.
go. I couldn't actually. I mean, I'll flick again back to the other one. I can't see the difference in the pathway yet. Which section is it exactly that's
Just underneath
changed?
underneath the tail, where the tail ends.
Ah, okay.
What you've got is a continuation of the Earth. You see what I mean? That's it. It's like a
Yeah.
continuation. And you see what was happening, it was kind of putting a barrier there. And I thought, no, we don't want that there. It didn't take very long, but what I did was I owned up to it on the video and re-shot that. And then I had to do another outro because, but it's not a problem. It wasn't a problem for me. I had everything set up there. All the pencils were still there. So I usually do that to make sure, because if I do have to go back on something, then I can do it. But in
Mm.
the end, I was very pleased with it, Steve. It turned out
It
very
looks
well.
great. And the actual tonal qualities of your picture, I said to you on a message, I said, I prefer your tone of this picture compared to the reference picture. The
Mm,
warmth on the reference picture is just a little too warm, and
yeah,
this seems to have neutralized the gradient of the picture.
that's right. Well, this is
Um,
how I remember elephants. When I've seen quite a few. I've been quite a few zoos, and I've never seen them in the wild, much as I'd like to. But always in captivity. But they look as I remember them. So I can only do that. And I was very pleased with the overall tone of the picture, and the when you've also got the background there to contend with, you can't go too bright. You know what I mean? You have to keep it subdued. All those greens that are there and the blue, grey blues, which I didn't use for the elephant at all. So it's a nice combination, really, when you've got the blue sky and then you drop down to the bluey, hazy look in the background, and then you come forward, because coming forward with the earth colours, it gives you that three-dimensional aspect,
hmm.
which is what. Sorry.
It feels like there's a huge variety of techniques in this picture, and the first thing that I can think of, aside from the elephant, is the rocks in the foreground, because we know how tricky rocks are to do.
Oh,
And so,
right.
what's this like in terms of difficulty to get those rocks right at the front?
Uh, Quite tricky, I've got to say. But I put them in because I want they were there anyway on the original photograph, so I wanted to be true to that. But I couldn't leave them off. Although, if anybody did want to leave them off, they just put the rocks in behind the elephant, put a couple in there, and then just carry on with the earthy tone that I've used. I think that was the grey, the earth greys, and there was a 182. That was the main colour. And then there was a couple of Caran d'Ache colours as well. But that can be, and then you can just run it into the foreground. So people don't have to do those rocks. I wanted to do them because I think it was nice to see the picture in accurately, really. to
Mm.
what was originally there.
I'm just going to just flip back to show the reference picture again, just so people can see. I mean, just how complicated that um, front is. You know, there's a lot going on,
Mm.
and to depict that realistically, I just feel like would be one massive headache.
It would, and really, what are you going to achieve? You see, the thing is, all the backgrounds that I do and all the areas that are not the subject, you can't make them more appealing or more attractive or command your view more than the subject itself. So what I did good representation of them, but I wouldn't put all the detail in there. It was not necessary.
Mm.
You need to quieten it down and make it a little less.
A little less busy. What was the elephant like to do in terms of is it just sort of your paint by numbers elephant, one that you've done always in the past, not really any different from all the other elephants you've done?
Well, the first thing was that I was using the light grey Bastomet paper. That made a big difference as I, with the wolf and the tiger before them. Um, I found that advantageous. And then using the greys, these are the earth greys I use for the actual elephant. It wasn't too hard, Steve. As I said, there was only really three main colours, and that is the 270, 273, 175. There's not a lot of black in that, very little black in that, just a little where you can see the emphasis of dark, but very little. So it's 175 really. Now those are the only three. And then there's I call it a wash. Do you remember I said last week I used 182 over the whole elephant, but it was very light. You hardly see it when I
Mm.
finished, but it gave that kind of slightly ochre look, which I think was very attractive. Otherwise, it would have been a bit plain, uh, uninteresting. So by
Mm.
doing that, but those are the only colours I use for it. So it's amazing um, how too few a colour you can actually get. And when it comes down to the and of course white as well. Didn't mention that, did I? I did put a bit of white in there as well. But the rocks and the light middle ground there, that's all done by the same colours. It's all
That's
done
great. You really
really.
get a real sense of vastness, of perspective in this picture. I think because the middle to background, is detailed enough to give
Mm,
that texture and dimension of land, but um, yeah, again, it doesn't feel busy. You just feel like you can easily be transported there without it sort of being. You don't
mm,
have to think too much. When you look at a picture like this, you don't have to try and work it out too much. You've made it quite simple with the components you've put in to put yourself in there. You've not
mm.
overcomplicated it. I think that's a good
It,
lesson to learn from watching you
it
do a
is.
picture like this.
I think when people see it, they'll realise that it's not as hard as you think it is. When you look at that, you think, "Oh, I'd be phased by it. How on earth do you get all those creases and crinkles and uh, how well you'll see how it's done, and it is not that hard once you pay attention to it.
Hmm.
But once again, I did say you can't rub out. Now, remember we were talking about that belly that was sagging. Well, that's gone now. I've trimmed him up.
I
And,
just realised I was showing not the finished one. No, that's still the same one.
yeah,
Let me close that
it,
one.
it was where the belly um, was
Yeah,
sagging.
I was showing the one without the tail. Let me just find the one with the tail. They both look so similar. That's the problem. There you go. Um, yeah, this area here, you neaten that up.
That was a sagging belly, wasn't it? What is now trimmer, and I couldn't leave it like that. I mean, to be true to the photograph, I should have done, but you've got to use your imagination. And
Yeah.
interesting enough, talking about imagination, the next picture I'm going to do, I'm not going to talk about it because I want to surprise people next week. I've set it all up now, and what I've done with that is, again, slightly different uh, emphasis. The emphasis is if you've got a commission, for instance, an animal, and you don't like what's surrounding it, the background, the setting, and so on, how do you get over it? Well, this is a very, very good example that I'm going to be showing next week. I'll show you the original picture, then I'll show you my picture. I don't know whether I'll be finished. Probably not, probably a halfway stage again, but you get an idea. And how we can actually take something that is almost impossible, quite honestly, when you see the picture, how on earth are you going to interpret that? But you can, and there's a special way of doing it. Anyway, that's something to come next week, but it's a very popular animal I'm going to be doing. And I think that what I'm trying to do now is put myself in our members and our viewers' shoes when they get something. Oh, I don't know, how am I going to tackle that? Do you know? And
Mm-hmm.
the one typical of that really was the rabbit. Remember last week we had that rabbit.
Yeah.
What do you do if you haven't had the experience or don't have the know-how? How do you get on with that? You put a green background in, or that was the idea. This is going to help you, and I'm looking for pictures similar to that, so that I can show people how they can get over these
Mm.
hiccups.
Great stuff. I mean, I'm sure they're all very, very grateful for it as well. And it's really interesting to see how you tackle these pictures. And I really enjoy these sort of dissections of
Mm.
how you've done that. So I hope that that's also interesting to everyone else. Obviously, this class has been filmed, so this will be one on the website. The next class that I've just finished editing, so I'm in the middle of creating it on the site, and that is the girl with the fan. I don't know if people remember that
All right.
picture,
Mm.
but that was looks a really impressive one, something different. So in the next week, that will be up on the website for everyone to watch. But for now, we will wait to hear what the picture is that you're working on this week, and hopefully, we'll get a teaser next week of how you're getting on with that.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, we'll leave it there for this week. So, thank you, everyone, as always, for watching and for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Enjoy
Enjoy
your
your
week.
week.